The state's Tule scrutiny just got wider, and a reporting bug in the state water board's online portal has been doubling some manual filers' extraction totals. You're listening to the Sigma Weekly, your 10-minute briefing on everything happening in California groundwater, brought to you by water1.ai. I'm your AI host. Let's get into it. First up, the state water board's denial of the remaining Tule exclusion requests is starting to look less like a one-time vote and more like the opening move in a much broader review. We covered the denial itself a couple of weeks ago. This week, Porterville Irrigation District GSA staff filled in what actually happened in the room at the April 21st vote. And the picture is bigger than just exclusions. State officials questioned how Porterville's 34-year rolling precipitation average was set, how native sustainable yield numbers were derived, and how recharge credits are being treated. Staff cautioned that all three of those threads could force structural changes in coming years to how the GSA builds its allocations and runs its basin-safe accounting. As we reported 2 weeks ago, the Tule subbasin is also moving toward a single unified GSP, with 11 of 13 GSOs participating, and a draft targeted for late 2026 or early 2027. So the exclusion denial story we ran 2 weeks ago is really just the surface layer. The methodology fight is now on the table. Next up, and this one's a real heads-up for growers in the Tule area. Porterville staff reported that the State Water Board has acknowledged a bug in the GEARS extraction reporting platform that was doubling totals for manual entry filers. If you submitted 6 acre-feet, the system displayed 12. Staff said the state may require affected users to resubmit. Just as importantly, PID staff also said they are hearing from State Water Board contacts that the state is not currently applying the May 1st 25% late penalty, what they describe as a grace period, though no new deadline has been announced. We want to be careful here. No formal State Water Board notice has been posted yet that we've seen, so this is sourced to what Porterville staff is hearing through their direct interactions with the state. The PID GSA office has already walked roughly 30 growers through the process and says it's available to help anyone else who needs support. If you're a manual filer in the Tule area and you submitted before this surfaced, it's worth pulling your numbers and checking. Moving on, building on our recent snowpack coverage, the irrigation outlook for the Kings and Kaweah is getting tighter and faster. Kings County Water District reported that the coordinated Kings River irrigation run is now planned to start May 15th and last about 75 days. The underlying supply picture has tightened further since the last meeting. What looked like a 50 to 55-day outlook then has gotten worse on the supply side, even though the current operating plan stretches to 75 days. The April 1st water supply number from the Kings River Water Association, informed by D.W. Assart's April snow survey, came in around the mid-40% range, significantly below average. People's Ditch is expected to start at the end of May or early June, with Last Chance typically running about a week behind. Growers should plan for a compressed window and stay close to their ditch companies on start dates. Just to the south, Kaweah Delta Water Conservation District reviewed a Kaweah River outlook around 50% if no additional inflow materializes. The latest airborne snow observatory flight showed only about 41,000 acre-feet of snowpack remaining, and peak runoff already passed, arriving roughly 2 months earlier than normal. The Kaweah Subwatershed Association meets this week to set release timing. The headline remains the same: warm March, early melt, short season. Now this one's interesting. Mid-Kaweah GSA is moving toward mandatory well registration, and missing the deadline could cost growers their allocations. For listeners who haven't followed every step of this, a GSA, or Groundwater Sustainability Agency, manages compliance with the state's groundwater law. Mid-Kaweah's advisory committee this week voted to recommend that the board adopt mandatory registration for all agricultural and industrial wells, generally pumping more than 2 acre-feet a year. The proposed deadline is October 31st, 2026. Growers who miss it could be zeroed out of Tier 1 and Tier 2 allocations, and staff discussed possible monthly per-well fees on top of that. The good news for anyone dreading the paperwork: staff is pushing a fast-track option. A grower comes into the office and marks well locations on a map, signs a public records release, and staff pulls the well completion reports from the county on the grower's behalf. Appointments run 15 to 25 minutes. Mid-Kaweah will promote the fast-track option at the PID Grower Workshop on May 15th, and personalized non-compliance notices are being prepared for growers identified through the GSA's well inventory. If you farm in Mid-Kaweah, this is the moment to get on the calendar. All right, let's shift over to trends in the valley. First, Proposition 4. We covered last week's DWR rollout of the Prop 4 groundwater funding pool. This week, you can see agencies starting to line up their project lists. Madera County GSA flagged Prop 4 as a key upcoming grant opportunity, with applications due in early 2027, and signaled it wants to keep program costs low and look for alternative funds. Kings County Water District heard from its consultant Geosyntec that draft Prop 4 solicitation packages could arrive as soon as next month, though DWR's official rollout actually points to draft guidelines in the fall. So Kings is preparing on the consultant's faster timeline, but the state's clock looks slower. And the Northern Delta Mendota Region Management Committee noted that future Prop 4 SGMA grants could fund replacement of production wells currently being used as monitoring sites. A basin-wide gap with a 2030 deadline. Last week was the funding announcement. This week is the scramble. Second, and this is a trend worth paying attention to, modeling and consulting costs are becoming real budget pressure points for GSAs across the valley. Northern Delta Mendota is wrestling with a roughly $500,000 sub-basin model calibration, where 3 smaller GSA groups want a reduced cost share, while the larger members favor the existing equal split. Because the joint powers vote requires unanimity, the disagreement could stall the entire modeling effort. The committee voted to support pursuing a Bureau of Reclamation WaterSmart applied science grant of up to $400,000, with applications due in early July. But that only helps if the cost share fight gets resolved first. Down in the Cuyama Basin, the GSA is showing 2 parallel moves on the same pressure. It trimmed roughly $650,000 from its draft budget, deferring most model improvement studies and a historical land use update, and separately restructured its standing advisory committee meetings to cap technical consultant participation at 3 hours and limit legal counsel to brief updates, dropping per-meeting costs from around $16,000 down to about $9,600. 2 subbasins, different responses but the same underlying pressure. The technical work that SGMA demands isn't cheap, and budgets are tightening at exactly the wrong moment. One last thing before we wrap. If you're a grower in the Porterville area and you have questions on GEAR's reporting or basin safe accounts, the PID GSA office said this week they're available to help. You can reach them at 559-782-6321 or by email at pidgsa@ocsnet.net. For Mid-Kaweah growers looking to register their wells, email midkaweah@gmail.com to book a fast-track appointment before the proposed October deadline. That's your SGMA Weekly. If you want the full details on every board meeting we covered, head to water1.ai. You can read the complete recaps, and if you want to dig deeper, try Chat GSA. Just ask it anything about your district, and it'll pull up the answers from the latest meetings. I'm your AI host. Stay informed, and I'll see you next week.